very basic tool. This is the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. When it was first launched, it had 5 levels. Now in research, a model can be re-evaluated, and now we have 7 levels. So ideally, when you look at the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, most people have thought of this in terms of their personal needs. If we had the time, I'll literally take you through an exercise, first of all to assess each one of you, where are you? Each one of us is on a different level. And what happens is that the level where you are determines the decisions you're making, determines the strategy you're using, determines your commitment and priorities. And interestingly, the newest research has also shown that this does apply to businesses. So the critical question this morning is, do you know where your business is on this hierarchy of needs? Just to walk us through quickly. And the lowest level, which is the bottom, is what we call the physiological needs. And this is really a point of survival. I'll talk about it from both, I'll try to write both business and a personal level. So at the point of survival, it's really about making it through that day. Do I have enough to eat? Do I have enough to drink? Do I have a roof over my head? And even in a business sense, this is not only very common for businesses in the startup phase, but also past COVID, we noticed there are businesses that were pre-scale or were scaling, and then because of COVID, they actually went back to this level. So the fact that you have worked past this level doesn't mean you can't come back. Something can happen in your business that triggers you to come back. So at this point of survival, you're basically trying to keep the lights on. The priority is for us to have enough to keep the lights on. And so that means at this point as a business, our commitment and involvement is really about innovation. At this point, if you're going to invest in something, you're going to be investing in a product development, you're thinking about what can we do, who can we sell to, because we just need to generate cash flows. So at this point, we can't even begin to talk about organizational development, because it's not the highest priority. What we need is to keep the lights on. And then beyond that point is where we move to the safety needs. And at the safety needs is, we have enough, but ideally we are not secure about the future. In terms of a business, this is where people are working on very short contracts, or they don't even have contracts. As a business, one of the things you will notice here is a high staff turnover. Because people don't know what is coming, they are consistently jumping the ship. They do not know if they have a job next year, so they'll be taking the next best opportunity. And that becomes a cycle that keeps pushing you back to level 1. And so at this point, your priority is to begin to close contracts or to have deals. You're looking at retainers. So as a business, your biggest investment at this point should be your customer discovery. Who is the niche customer that will give us the longest runaway? And at the third level, we come to love and belonging. So we're at a place where we are secure. We have contracts, people know they have jobs tomorrow, the lights are on, that's no longer our worry. And now at this point, we begin to think about our identity. The culture. If your business is at this level, this is where you begin to invest in culture development. You begin to look at what are our values, what do we stand for? Do people feel included in the things that you're doing? What's the decision-making process? At this point, your staff turnover has gone down, but now what you're grappling with is what you have as values on paper is not being reflected in the culture. And so the biggest niche for you to invest in will be the culture development. Beyond love and belonging is where we get to esteem. This is the point of brand visibility. We are secure inside, and now we are beginning to build our position outside. What do people think of us? How do people perceive us? What are people saying about us? They are without stepping on toes. This should be the ideal level for BNI members. Now, this is critical for us to recognize as we invite members and also as we recruit. Because if we're going to bring in people in the chapter that are below this point, if someone is trying to keep the lights on, giving a referral is the last thing on their mind. True or false? So we cannot be expecting people who are trying to keep their lights on to be giving us referrals. We just have. There are people who are willing. So either we are going to be committed as a chapter to rally around them and say, let's help this business come up to a point where they're more secure and have a runway so they can now focus on giving. The same thing with safety needs. If people are still not very sure, again, it's about how much more can we get for us to be secure. At this point, ideally, they are also not ready for the BNI. And at love and belonging, that could be a place. Now, love and belonging, you're really trying to put your house in order. At the esteem level is now where you begin to look outward, and at that point we can begin to think about what can we do for you as a business to increase your visibility. I wanted to also share this, the same thing. So you realize that below esteem is what we call the deficiency needs. It's struggle for the fittest. And at that point, we only begin to talk about capacity building, organizational development, and professional development. Even for you as a business leader, it only begins beyond the esteem level. So we can look at the cognitive needs. Now, if you're going to invest in capacity building for your team, professional development, then you're going to have to assess where they are. A company can be at level 4 or level 5, but it doesn't mean your employees are at level 5. If your employees are still worried about what they're going to eat and drink tomorrow, you cannot be telling them to go for professional development. Ideally, what you're going to notice below level 4 is many people will be going for technical development. So they're going to be doing a course so they can earn a little more. Because that's where the priority is. You need to learn to read the indicators in your team. Because sometimes as business leaders, we are pushing people to go for cognitive development when ideally they are looking for survival. They are looking for safety. Until these needs are being taken care of, we cannot begin to talk about cognitive development. And so at that point, we can look about, okay, cognitive development is where you're looking at, you want new ideas. This is where people wake up. Someone has been an engineer all their life, and suddenly they decide to go do a course in law. Because they're beyond survival. It's not about the money. They are working towards self-actualization. I've always wanted to do this thing. It makes me happy. So also look at the things that you're committed to learning. Are you learning to earn more, or are you learning to feel good? That could be an indicator of where you are on this scale. So cognitive is where you just want to expand your mind, you want new ideas, new knowledge. Aesthetic is where you're basically looking at your skills development, practical tools, again, exposure. When you think about, in a minute, when you think about a person like Elon Musk and Richard Branson, they're not doing things to earn a living. They're basically tinkering with anything and everything for just how they feel. So that's what aesthetic means, is self-actualization and then transcendency. So as we think about organizational capacity building and your own professional development, I implore you to do an assessment, understand where you are first of all as a leader, where is your company or your organization, and where are your team members, so you will know exactly how to invest. Thank you very much.